Hello and welcome back to the channel of nonsense. I've come to a softly illuminated sweatbox just outside Leighton Buzzard to talk about this, the all-new Peugeot e-3008. And although this was unveiled a few months ago, I've popped down today because I think it's going to be one of the most significant real-world family SUVs with electric power that are going to come out in 2024. So we're going to have a look around it and find out why I think it's going to be so important next year. And sorry if I sound more bunged up than various members of your family last night. It's because my kids have decided to attack me physically now, as well as mentally and financially. So yeah, I've got the flu, but we're going to have a look at this, which looks well sick, innit? Or something. Before we get going, I should point out that this one is called the e-3008 because it's all electric and it's the first Stellantis car on their all-new electric first platform, which is exciting for reasons that we will get onto, bear with me. But do bear in mind this is also going to come out as a mild hybrid with a 1.2 litre petrol and a plug-in hybrid as well. So it is going to be the new 3008, even though I'm calling this the e-3008. But anyway, let's talk about the looks because it looks stunning. I think Peugeot is on a real roll at the moment with their design language. The 408 that came out at the start of this year, that looked like nothing else. And this is doing new and exciting things for the 3008. I really love this flat grille that kind of curves round here. You've got these super slim headlights with Peugeot's now iconic and very recognizable at night in the rain on a motorway claw DRLs down here. It looks kind of like some form of electrified hedgehog or something coming out of its burrow. I just really like it. This paint color as well is the launch color from the 408 as well. And it kind of changes color depending on the light. It's kind of blue, then it's green. It looks beautiful, I think, and the paint is a bit TVR-ish, except this probably won't break down somewhere outside Blackpool, or hopefully not. But anyway, I'm going to grab the camera, stick it on the gimbal, and show you some of the cool details of this car. Right, here we go for a little walk around of the new 3008 and e-3008. As you can see, it's actually quite a different shape from the previous 3008. I used to have one of those for a couple of months as a company car, and I did really like it. It was just a quirky alternative to the usual Germans like the Volkswagen Tiguan. But now you can see Peugeot has taken the traditional SUV shape and shaved off the back end of it to turn it into a slightly more rakish, almost coupe SUV. And they've done that to make it more aerodynamic, because the big news that I alluded to is that the electric version of this is going to be able to do more than 400 miles on a charge, 435 actually, if you get the big 98 kilowatt hour battery version. And then there's a smaller standard range version, which will do about 326 miles on a charge, which is still really impressive. And those benefits have really come from putting this on its own new platform, which means there's more space for the battery in the floor without taking over boot space and things like that. So that's why I think this is going to be really important. But yeah, it just looks really striking from the side. I'll sit in the back in a second to check out the rear headroom, because sometimes in coupe SUVs it reduces the headroom a little bit. But yeah, just look at that back end. It's almost Lamborghini-ish. It's almost as if Lamborghini went to France and ate lots of cheese and then, yeah, did something a bit quirky. It's really cool. I love these claw-shaped tail lights. Look at all the creases down the side of the car. It's like someone's attacked it with an axe. It looks cool. Another little detail as well that the designers are proud of is hiding the weather strips here. So actually, you just get glass and metal looking really, really premium. And I know I'm banging on about it a bit. I've not been paid by Peugeot to say all this stuff, but it does just look like a concept car. And actually, the spoiler has been nicked off their quartz concept car from a little while back. It kind of floats at the back here. You can see there's a gap underneath it. Now, I know you're probably sitting there thinking, that looks bigger than the old 3008, and you'd be right. It is 9 centimeters longer than the outgoing version. It's a bit wider as well. It's a little bit more imposing, and it's definitely heavier as well. Now it's available as an all-electric car. It weighs between 2.1 and 2.2 tons, depending on which battery pack you get. But anyway, let's talk about the electric stuff, because that's quite important. It's going to come in 3 versions. It's going to come in the standard range single motor, which is front wheel drive, which will have 210 horsepower. Then you've got the long range, which has 230 horsepower. And then you're going to have a dual motor 320 horsepower version, which uses the 210 horsepower motor on the front and sticks a 110 one on the rear axle. That'll do 0 to 62 in 6.4 seconds. The others are more like 8.7 and 8.9. Now, as I've said, you're also going to have two battery size choices, either 73 kilowatt hour usable or the big 98 kilowatt hour one, which is going to come later in 2024. They're both going to be able to charge through your usual CCS port down here at speeds of up to 160 kilowatts. So you should be able to get between 20 and 80% on both battery packs in about half an hour. So it should be able to charge pretty quickly, as well as being able to go quite far on a charge. Quite a large flap. I don't know how I feel about that. It's, yeah, last time I saw flaps that big was on, complete this sentence for yourself. Now, I'm a big fan of modern Peugeot interiors, and this one, yeah, it looks like another spaceship. It looks otherworldly. It looks really cool. And they've continued the old 3008's use of grey fabric, which I really like, and some nice soft blue illumination all across the dashboard. But that dashboard is dominated by this 21-inch twin screen setup up here, which is used for the digital driver's display and also for your usual infotainment system. But don't worry, they haven't put everything in those screens. You've still got some physical controls down here, which are buttons which move when you press them, thankfully. There for you, things like clearing your windscreen, clearing your back window, so you don't have to faff about in winter waiting for the car to boot up. You've also got the digital panel of shortcut controls there that we saw in the 408, but you've now got two screens of those. So if I move my feet a little bit, there you go, look, you can swipe between two panels of shortcuts. You get the usual Peugeot i cockpit, so small steering wheel that you look over. Works really well in this. I'm 6'3", I've sat behind the wheel and I can easily see the screens there and feel comfortable while driving. I love this kind of floating center console here. You've got a wireless phone charger underneath there. I should point out this is a top spec GT version, but every version of this car in the UK is going to get the big 21-inch display there. It's going to be optional in other countries, apparently. I really like the door cards as well. They continue the angular theme in here, big door bins, and it all just feels premium. Yummy. While we're in here, I should talk about the steering wheel, because these buttons, they aren't haptic, they actually move and they feel like buttons, which is quite nice. And you've got shift paddles there which take you through 3 levels of brake regeneration to help recharge the battery, and on levels 2 and 3 activates the brake lights, as you would sort of hope, so cars don't drive into your delicious French derriere. Right, obviously the 3008 is pitched as a family SUV, so the boot space, if I can open it, I've got to help it because this one's pre-production, is a 520 litre space, which is the same as the space I had in my old current 3008. And I always felt the boot in that was okay, but it wasn't quite deep enough that way. This one does look like it is a little bit deeper, and you've got loads of space under the floor, and that doesn't change with the battery size. And actually that holds itself up there quite nicely. How cool is that? So yeah, even if you get the big 98 kilowatt hour battery, you get the same boot space. However, you don't if you get the dual motor version, because then the boot space drops from 520 to about 470 litres of usable space. But anyway, let's check out the rear seats. Right, rear seat space in the back of the new 3008 is actually okay. It's pretty good for knee room. I'm 6'3", that's in my driving position. I've got a nice cutout in the back of the front seat for my knobbly knees, but it is hard plastic, so if you are taller than me, it could be a little bit painful if you've got a tall driver. Headroom is fine until I lean all the way back, and then the back of my scalp does brush this swooping roofline, but it's not a massive deal. I can still get comfortable in here. Now, there's not much of a transmission tunnel, so your middle seat passenger is probably going to be okay. And yeah, it just feels really rather nice in here. I've got 12-volt socket there. I've got decent sized door bins. And if I shut the door, it doesn't feel very claustrophobic because the windows go down really quite low. Does the window glass though? Nah, not all the way. And one thing I would point out that I've noticed already is the rear doors don't open anywhere near 90 degrees. So yeah, getting child seats in and out might be a little bit trickier than on the old ones. Right, to sum up my quick look at the new Peugeot e-3008, I'm really impressed. From a style point of view, as you would expect, Peugeot has knocked it out of the park. I think it's a stunning looking car that does really just look like something straight off a motor show concept car stand. But it's doing lots of clever stuff as well that we've not seen really from a mainstream EV manufacturer. And that's giving us that magic more than 400-mile range. We don't know the price of that model yet. In fact, I don't know the price of the standard range version, but expect a standard range one to be kind of mid £40,000, kind of around £45,000, and that's for the 326-mile version. So I imagine the big battery one will be a bit more than that still. But what a great looking thing, and Peugeot I think is on a roll in terms of making their interiors feel more special and getting the right tech in the car. It's just looking like a great family car option if you want a mid-size EV in 2024, which is when it's out. But anyway, thank you for watching. If this has been helpful, please hit the like button, do subscribe, and go down to the comments and leave me the French word for juicy flaps. And I'll see you next time. Got a look from him.